Hello, fellow citizens! I am your host, Jess, and this is your reminder that the weight of the entire world is not on your shoulders, and you can make a difference. This podcast is about what it means to be a citizen and neighbor where you live. For me, that's Philadelphia. There is gonna be so many giggles in this episode.
I hope so. Probably.
Gerald,
sound like an airhead.
Gerald, should we just get right into it?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Today, I am speaking with my good friend Jerry, who I know from my hometown of South Plainfield, and we're gonna play around with this episode. It's season 2. This is one of our casual episodes, just getting to know the citizens and neighbors. So, Jerry, welcome to Fellow Citizens Podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited about this. I've never. It reminds me of my radio days, actually. So I miss it a little bit. So yeah, let's kick
That's
this
such
off.
a good point. I'm so glad. I kind of forgot about that, and now I love this even more. So speaking of college days, this is a little bit leading into how we met. Do you remember how we met?
So I literally was thinking about this for a good portion of today, and I was like, how did we meet? And I couldn't pinpoint a meet cute exactly. I thought back to, because I kind of knew your sister first.
Mm-hmm.
When we were hanging out with that group back
Yeah.
then. But I couldn't pinpoint an exact moment where I couldn't even remember if we shared a class together. Is that terrible? I feel like we might have shared a language class together, maybe.
I don't know if because I took Spanish. Did you take Spanish?
Yeah.
I think we might have had Spanish. I'm pretty sure. I want to say we had an English class and maybe a math class.
Oh God, math.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't
no.
know. There was so many classes in high school, and we did it for 4 years. So I just know.
I was thinking about that too the other day at the gym. I don't know why I was thinking about this, but I was thinking high schoolers literally go through 7 subjects in a day, and they have to crunch all that shit and then get up in the morning. And I'm like, wow, would I be able to do that at my age now? Probably, probably not.
I guess maybe that's one of the reasons to go to college right after high school, because could you do it now? I mean,
that's a good point.
I don't know. You're right. That's a lot of information. And then they have to go home and do homework for it. Where do they find the time? Where did we find the time?
I know. I think back to even college. I'm like, I was working almost full time. I was balancing internships. I was going to school full time. I was like, how the F did I get through all of that?
Yeah.
And have a social life? I don't know.
A lot of Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Yeah, pretty much. Coffee, the 5-night benders,
Do you still find time to get your Dunkin' Donuts coffee today?
Oh yeah.
Every day.
I'm usually, you know how you see those memes online? It's walking to work late with my Dunkin', or what was that really funny one? Oh, it was work's just not the same if you don't walk in late with your iced coffee or something along that. I was like, ooh, this is me.
You'll have to find it and send it, and I'll post it on the Insta as a promo for this episode.
Oh yes, I actually did. I did screenshot it. It is in my phone somewhere.
Good. So Jerry, how are you spending your time today, during a pandemic in 2020?
So this was really hard because I am not a homebody at all.
No.
I am usually always somewhere.
Yeah.
But luckily work has been keeping me occupied. I'm thankful to still have a job and not be affected too much in that regard. my work week is, it's Tuesday through Saturday, so that occupies a good chunk of my day. I also work, later than your typical 9 to 5, and I don't get home till around like 7:30. So
Mm.
during the week, I work, I go home, I eat something small, and then I go to the gym, and then I come home, and then that's when I have like my me time of maybe I'll binge watch a couple shows or end up on TikTok for an hour and a half. I've been wasting my life on TikTok. Like, what? Do you have one? Don't get
I
one.
don't know.
Because
Yeah.
and then you'll get
Alyssa was talking about it, and I heard about how like it tells you when you've been scrolling for too
yeah.
long. I
you
love that.
you get the little messages like, "Hey, life exists outside of TikTok. Stop scrolling." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
That is so smart. Like, I wonder what happened in the office that day, because that had to have been an argument, right? Like, maybe their HR team was like, guys, this would be really good for you because, like, people got to take a break from screen time. And they're like, no, we need people to be on TikTok 24/7.
I mean,
I don't know.
it'll be like the one of the last things I look at before I actually go to bed, and then
Oh.
it's not really the greatest idea because I'll be scrolling and I'll be like, oh my God, it's 1:30. I need to go to bed.
Oh no. I've been playing this game called Lily's Garden, and it's like Tetris, but it has a storyline. And every day that you play it, you get a little bonus. And I tend to play it before I go to bed. Like, I'm sitting in my bed and I'm playing it. And then I'll know it's after midnight because it's like, you got another bonus for playing an extra day. And I'm like, oh no, it's time to go to bed.
I used to be like that with Panda Pop, which is like,
Panda Pop?
I mean, I feel like there are so many variations of this style of game, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like one of those things where you like throw the ball and you have to match it with the other colors to eliminate them, and I don't know. It's I used to like I think I'm on near level 2000, and I'm like, wow. Yeah, no. I because of TikTok I've stopped that and I've started
Oh
another addiction.
no. Panda Pop must be so sad.
But well, no, actually it's cute. It's fun. You can get like little power-ups and you free the baby pandas. It is sad when you don't free them though and they cry.
Oh no. That's
um,
smart.
but yeah, so that's pretty much how I spend my time now. On my days off, I usually don't go to the gym because I do it so
Mhm.
much during the week.
Yeah.
And then I'm usually at someone's house, not in big groups, but I do kind of push the boundaries of that because I'm always here. Well, I'm not always
Yeah.
here now, but I try to get out of here as much as I can.
That
Um,
makes sense. Yeah, especially on your days off, you want to do something different and take advantage of it.
yeah, and then the I think today an executive order went out. The bars are now closed again, except for
Oh.
indoor dining
In New Jersey?
in New Jersey. Yeah, so you can't go up and stand at the bar anymore. It's that part is
Oh,
closed
okay.
off. And they close at 9 or 10. No, I don't know. So it's only reserved indoor seating at like 25% capacity.
You're one of the few people I know who is staying active during COVID, and I like having that perspective of like, guys, this is what's going on this week.
Well, I try because I
Yeah,
know
you
it's
have to
that.
report to the masses.
Yeah,
Now you
I
have this podcast as an excuse. You're like, I have to tell the fellow citizens what's happening in New Jersey.
that's true. I
I
will let
like
you
it.
know.
Yes.
um, yeah, I mean, now it's gonna be. I mean, we're going back into where we were. I feel like back in April
Mm,
and May,
yeah.
where I'm just gonna be home binge watching shows I've watched years ago, or
Hmm.
um, Netflix. I just got all the other streaming medias: Hulu, Disney Plus.
It's,
What?
I would totally say that people who are having conspiracy theories during all of this, they do have a leg to stand on. Because I'm like, yeah, this is really great for streaming services right now. Like, Disney Plus, like the streaming service, was supposed to drop when all this hit, right?
I think so. I feel like we're just had rolled out, or
Yeah, it
yeah,
had just started. And
yeah.
they were like, oh, we didn't get as many people as we thought we would. Mm.
And then, that turned around real quick. Well, now they have that package. They have that package with Hulu.
Everybody's got a package. Now Google has one with Chrome, like the Google Chromecast stick gets you a bunch of apps with it. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know what's what. My husband steals passwords from people, and so I don't even know like what we're actually paying for. Like I didn't realize we had YouTube TV, and so now I get to watch The Bachelorette live, which is nice.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I wonder. I'm not super tech savvy. I don't even have like a Fire Stick or one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I literally use um like an HDMI cord
Oh,
to connect my computer to my TV because I don't actually have cable.
whoa.
But
No, man, get the Fire Stick. They're affordable.
yeah, I really need to
Maybe for
invest in
Black
that
Friday.
because I also have a Blu-ray player that kind of that'll connect you to Netflix, but that's the only service it can connect to. Like, okay.
Right.
So yeah, no,
Yeah,
it gets super annoying.
I
Uh,
agree. I don't know. I don't know any of it. Um, I have a question. Do you mind telling our listeners what you do for work?
oh yeah. So I work in property management. I'm a regional community consultant for Avalon Bay communities. So I kind of travel all over New Jersey at various different properties and support them where they need it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How long have you been there?
2 years actually. My anniversary's coming up in a couple weeks.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
time flies.
it
Good for
does.
you.
It
Good for
does.
you. Well, speaking about being out Avalon for like 2 years, where all have you lived, Jerry?
Ah. Mostly New Jersey.
Hmm.
Mostly New Jersey. I did initially when I went to college. I did move to Schuylkill Haven, Pennsylvania. I lived there for the entirety of one semester, one fall semester. I had an apartment off campus because I went to Penn State, and it was a satellite campus, so it was very small. They couldn't even fit me in their housing, so I ended up renting an apartment in the nearby town with it was actually a pretty big apartment. It was interesting. It was made out of an old church. So it was an old church, made into this 4 bedroom apartment um, house, I guess you could call
Do
it.
you
So,
have any stories from in that house?
it was weird. I mean, the house itself was cool. I had a good, it was spacious. It had two full bathrooms, an upstairs and a downstairs. I was on the bottom floor, so I had 3 roommates. I only ever saw one of them, and it was when I caught him drinking milk from my milk carton.
What?
I was like, "You busted, you mother."
So you guys just had different class schedules or you didn't like get along?
I don't think the other two ever really moved in.
What?
And then the one roommate, we just had different schedules. We never really interacted. We were I was on the bottom floor, he was on the top floor. So I
Oh.
never saw him except for that one little incident. But he did buy me a new milk container.
Oh,
I
good.
noticed a new one in there the next day. I was like, all right.
So
See.
what was Schuylkill Haven like?
It's kind of like one of those. I mean, it's suburban. It's not. I don't want to say it's in the middle of nowhere because it's not. It's just it's a little deeper into PA. It's actually right by for those who are familiar, by the Cabela's exit off of 78. So
Okay.
if you're going to Cabela's over there, you're heading in the right direction for Schuylkill Haven. But the Schuylkill River, I feel like, is pretty well known. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
what
if you
people
know
do there.
Philly,
Yeah.
you know the Schuylkill River.
Yeah. So it goes, I guess it goes up into that far. I never really thought about that and made that connection. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how far it goes,
Yeah.
but I guess it goes pretty far.
Yeah.
Well, so how far were you from Philly? Do you know?
I was probably, I do know, I want to say I was like an hour and some change
Okay.
because I actually picked up Trevor from Philly once when he
Okay.
took a train in there.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember driving like an hour and a half maybe. Um,
So, Was there a culture shock when you were there? Because that was like the first time you were away from home.
Uh, well, college campus, I feel like it's a mixed bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And since I wasn't really living on campus, I wasn't with, my typical, peers until I was actually in classes. But New Jersey's a mixed bucket as it is. South Plainfield itself is a mixed bucket, so I was very much used to that. No culture shock there. When I was in town, maybe it was a little different. I feel like it's funny. I feel like the people in PA and the people, down Southerners, because half my family are Southerners.
Mm-hmm.
They're all super friendly, a lot friendlier.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're also very quick to like turn on you in a second if you say
Oh!
something like that doesn't, coincide with their beliefs or
Interesting.
especially down south when I go and visit my family down there, it's like, hey, good morning. Like strangers just say that to you on the street or they wave and us coming from New Jersey, we're kind of like, what do you want? Like
Mm-hmm.
what's happening here?
Right.
Yeah, and everyone's super polite. They have their passive aggressive ways of insulting you, like, oh bless your heart, or
Right.
doing things like that. Don't bring up politics, as that's when war will start.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like that's when they all turn the niceness off. Like, oh no, you don't agree with me? Sorry, I have
Oh
to kill you now.
boy.
No, I'm just kidding.
Do you
Can you
mind
imagine?
telling us why you moved back?
Oh yeah, I really didn't. So when I went to college, I applied to very random locations, and I feel like very random colleges. I didn't know what I was going for or
Mm-hmm.
when. Um, and I actually got into. I was just literally maybe a couple months ago rummaging through all of my old college class things, and I came across all of my acceptance letters from those colleges, and it really was like a mixed bucket of like Rhode Island, Massachusetts, PA, New Jersey, and I'm just like, what was I thinking? I was like, was there any structure to this? But of course, I luckily I got accepted into every one of them, which didn't make my decision any easier.
Right.
And then my dad was like, "Why don't you try Penn State?" I was like, all right, I guess this is fine. It's not too far away where if I hate it, I can't come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, even though I had an apartment in town, I did drive back almost every weekend because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
what am I doing here? So basically, that's why I moved back home. I didn't really know what I was doing here. I didn't want to spend a ton of money on an education for out-of-state tuition when I didn't know what direction I was heading into. So then I lasted one semester, and then I was at Middlesex County College, the next semester.
Woo! Yeah, we went there together and
We
I liked
did.
it.
Yeah, and that's why actually I think I texted you when I was going through my old college stuff because I couldn't remember the name of our professor we had for
I don't know.
for
You're like,
women
who
in
is our professor?
literature.
I don't know.
You don't
I don't
remember?
even remember that class. It
Oh my
sounds
God.
like the title sounds familiar. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure I took that class. It was a guy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a guy.
It was. It was like a bigger,
Or
like Hispanic guy.
yeah, and I
Yes.
can't remember his name. Like
I have
I remember his
no
face and what he looks like, but I was like, what was his name?
I have no idea, but it was nice that we got to take a couple classes together. I know we took
Spanish.
was
Did we
it
take Spanish?
astronomy or
Oh,
astrology?
oh,
Astronomy. It was
astronomy.
astronomy. We did like
Yeah,
constellation stuff. Yeah, I really liked that class. I mean, like I wasn't very good at it, but
me either. It was kind of tough.
it was. And
It
I
was
think
kind of
that
tough.
teacher warned us. He was like, this isn't just a passing grade, but he was a sweet old man.
Yeah, he was an old dude, and I remember it being the labs being hard, and then but I
Hmm.
do remember going to. Remember when we took a trip to that other community college because we had to go to like the Star Tower? I don't remember that. I have the ticket
I
stub for
remember
it.
we took a picture in an astronaut with a face cut out. Like I have that picture.
Was that there? Oh gosh, I
It
don't
was
remember.
I think it was Middlesex. Yeah.
Just that.
I didn't realize we went to a school, but to do that.
Do you realize that was like 10, it was over 10 years ago.
Yes.
God.
We're so different now. But are we?
I, but are we really?
I really like your reasoning for coming home. I think that's super like mature of you to acknowledge that. I've always been on the like pedestal of 18 is way too young to figure out what you're going to do for the rest of your life and then like start heading towards that. I'm glad I went for like writing cuz I mean, I feel like a lot of people joke about the communication majors, but I also feel like people who go to school for communication are being the most honest with themselves. Because I think a lot of us just have no idea what we want to do. And they're like, well, I don't really feel like I have a choice to not go to college. So this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wanted to choose something that would, you know, give me a lot of options, I guess. Something very grounded that would I could apply to anything.
Mm-hmm. But we
Um,
were also both like actually interested in the arts too. It's not like we were faking it.
right, we were. It's just that with many different facets of it too. It's like I do like for me, I started, I at MCC, that's where I got into radio, and I was like,
Yes.
oh, okay, maybe this is an avenue I want to explore.
A
Um,
time before podcasts.
that's true, and I did. I did
Yeah.
explore it. But it's. I also was like, why did I do this? Because radio doesn't pay you anything. I live in New Jersey. I need to be able to pay my bills.
Right, right, that's true. So then, okay, so how long since you moved back to Jersey that you've stayed there? So how long have you been in the area now?
um, since I was 20, maybe, so like 12 years, I guess.
Ooh.
Oh God, just revealed my age.
I was gonna ask you straight out how old you were, so I'm glad it's like a little riddle.
I I don't know. I definitely think about like would I move? Where would I go? And I do kind of try to take trips. When I go down south or when I'm meeting my cousins somewhere, we do a little weekend thing or visit some cities. And so far I haven't been anywhere where I'm like, yes, this is better than Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I have a lot at my fingertips here,
Yeah,
and I like that.
I feel like Philly is adjacent to New Jersey and not just like physically. And I didn't realize it when I went to Ramapo up north because we had a lot of people from like the South Jersey area, and I think some people came from like the Philly area. Most people were from New Jersey, like it's very much a state college, and that was always a bit of an argument on campus was like who's rooting for the Eagles versus who's rooting for the Jets. And I had no idea. I was like, okay, Philadelphia, whatever. And then when I moved here, I was shocked that there's not many, it's not very congested here like New York City is, which I didn't understand. But now I like that part about it. But people kind of say that New Jersey has a lot of pride. And I think Philly has the same amount of pride that Jersey does, but Philly is just one city. And, Jersey's like this
Right,
decently
right.
sized state.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I feel comfortable here because it's like a part of Jersey for me.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean it's close. That's
Yeah.
one of the
That
perks about living here. Like I can go there
yes.
whenever I want. Well, in a pandemic, not so much. But I think the last time I was there was when we went to the zoo.
Yeah. Before
Yeah,
like right before the pandemic.
literally, but the weekend before they were like, "All right, we're done traveling,
Yes.
everybody."
We
I was
got
like, "Oh
so
crap!"
lucky.
Yeah, that was a good weekend. Philly.
So,
I probably would be able to live in Philly.
oh, I think you would for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I think it's totally your lifestyle. I mean, we're lucky we live in a much older townhouse, and so our rent is like ridiculously cheap, so we don't plan on moving unless we really have to. Like, obviously, we would love to get our own home, but we've been in this house for 3 years and there's no rush. Like, we just bought a
Right.
car because our previous car was dead. And even though there wasn't really like an urgency, like, we have to have a car, it was just right now there's 0% interest and $0 down. So we're like, we'd be stupid not to buy a car right now.
That's
And we bought a 2020.
that's on my radar too. For I'm trying to get mine to last me to March, because I will have my student loans paid off by next month.
Oh, congratulations. That's
Thank
so
you.
exciting.
I am super excited about that actually.
That's really awesome.
Ooh. Yeah.
That's what a lot of people, somebody, I think it was my brother-in-law, Mikey, we were talking about that and how, you know, a student loan isn't like of any value. Like, you have to pay it off. Like, we're lucky that a lot of places have kind of frozen payments on the student loans during this time.
Hmm.
But a lot of people are like, I don't even want it hanging over my head. Like, let's just get it over with.
Yep. That's exactly what I've been doing. I'm like, yeah, this is great. There's no interest, but I'm still going to pay it because there is no interest and I want it gone.
Yeah. That's
It's
so
like one of those
awesome.
dark clouds that lingers over your head, And when you're
Yeah.
trying to buy a new car or when you're trying to, buy a house or,
Hmm.
move out, it's one of those taxing things that prevents you from
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah, you just, even if all of those were like 0% zero interest at the same time, it's like you don't want, I mean, I feel the same way as you. Like, I think that would be too much hanging over my head.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of how I feel like with buying the car. I'm like, let's just do the car for now and like make a lot of payments. Like, let's get a couple years under our belt with the car or however we do it. And then I'll understand a little better what to expect with buying a house.
Yeah.
Ew.
I know.
Because
It's
that's a big decision too of like,
it is.
where is the house going to be? Because unless we're going to buy something that we're going to flip as like an investment, which I personally don't want to do. Like, I thought about it for a hot minute and I was like, I want like a home. I don't want another job. I don't want another project. Like, Tom's job is very time consuming and sometimes his schedule is a little like sporadic. Like, they'll have him work weekends or he'll have to travel to different data centers any day of the week. Whereas like my work schedule is freelance and sometimes I only work like 4 days or 4 hours a day, but I don't want to flip a house.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a project I do not want to do. I'm all about convenience.
Yeah. So like it's nice that we have our little house, but now we're going on this will be 4 years that we've been together in this house and we rent. And so I don't want to be renting for like, it'd be nice if we could like get to the 5 year mark and then be like, okay, we're done renting this house.
Right.
Because you don't want to invest a lot of money in a house that's not yours. Like, you're not getting any value on it. But then the decision of like buying a house is like, well, where is it going to be? Because we're going to probably be in that house for like 10 or 15 years. Like,
I know. I know. It's like, where do I go? It's a tough
it's a
one.
big
My sister just bought a condo and I'm like,
That's
oh,
amazing.
like
Yeah. I
she just
couldn't
did
believe
it.
it.
I mean,
Good
she's
for
more
her.
decisive than I am. Like I'm in the same boat you are. Like, oh my God, I have to pick a location. Like I feel like it's more pressure than actually finding the house. It's like I have to
Yes.
pick a spot where I want to be for a while because it's not like I can just pick up and move like that
Hmm.
easily. That once
Right.
I'm there, it's going to be a pain in the butt to move again.
We have a couple of friends here in Philly who bought in the last couple of years, in the last like 2 to 4 years, and so they think they bought the house when they were like 30 or like 29, and I'm like, that to me is like great for you. I don't think I could do it.
Mhm.
Because I think in our heads, like, it just sounds like such an adult thing to do.
It does. Why aren't we adults, Jess?
Why are? Because we were communication majors. That's why.
That's true. That's true.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like we're not alone though.
No, not at all. And I think people are talking about it more. Like, we're in a generation, thankfully, that's talking about mental health and like being open with what's on your mind. And like, no, there's no stigma against talking to a therapist. Like, I love all that. Like, I'm all for it. I don't take advantage of it, but I'm
Yeah.
all for it. I
Yeah, no.
seriously have to take advantage of my healthcare. I'm so bad at that. It's because for the longest time, I've been such an introvert and I've been like, I wouldn't say like I have like overwhelming anxiety. It's just that there's certain things I don't feel like I want to do because I know it's not going to be a pleasant adult thing to do. You know, like
Yeah.
I haven't found an eye doctor in Philadelphia and
I
I've been in Philly for almost 7 years.
what the hell?
Because for the first few years, I was just traveling home for my annual checkup.
Yeah.
And then
Well, you're not far.
yeah, but
Yeah.
then in March, like when all this hit, finally my opti- optometrician, what's the word?
Optometrist.
Optometrist. the
I
my
was like,
opt
yeah, that's right. No.
right. My optometrist just retired. And so I feel like that's a kick in the butt of like, why haven't you done this yet? And so I have to find an eye doctor in Philly. I have to get glasses because we have a really good healthcare plan where like I can get 2 frames for like some deal. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. We
I
have
don't
a
know.
we have a health savings account, which I know from like my days working at Macy's that that's like super beneficial. And so that's the time to buy stuff. Like,
Yeah, I just used mine today to buy my contacts.
yeah.
I just sucked it right up. It's a big help because contacts, the ones, I mean, especially the ones I get dailies, they're expensive, man. They're
Yeah,
like,
mine are too because I have astigmatism, so they have to like special order my prescription. Not everybody offers my prescription.
oh wow.
So I haven't had contacts in quite some time because I haven't found an eye doctor.
My God. Do
And I
that.
really,
Do that after we're done.
I know, because especially when you wear the mask with glasses, like you have to have the right mask. Like that was a hard thing for me too, is finding the right face mask with glasses. And then when I walk the dogs too, like it'll be cold out, but we're walking and so my body is heating up. And so, on the outside it's cold and on the inside it's hot. And
It fogs up. Yep. Yeah.
thankfully, a lot of the times when I walk the dogs, though, we're not around anybody. So sometimes I just have to like take it off for a breather. But whenever I go into somebody's house, I have to put it on because I'm like, I don't know like what's going on in the house. And like, God forbid, I don't know, breathe too heavy on something up there. Be safe, not sorry.
I don't know how people deal with that because I've been, I mean, I'm sure the gyms are going to close down again soon, but during this brief period of time where we are allowed to go, I don't know how people deal with that at the gym. I'm on the
Mm-hmm.
treadmill with the mask on, like almost dying, and I'm like,
Right.
how do people see with glass? I'm like, I think about a lot on the treadmill. It's like my thinking
That's
time.
awesome.
The most random stuff too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm bad at thinking. I think way too much. I remember so many years ago, I was driving with Gory, and I'm pretty sure I was the one driving and she was in the passenger seat. We were probably like 20, 21 at the time, and we were on like Route 22 or Route 1 or something. And I was like, driving is hard because there's just so much to look at. And she was like, what? Are you paying attention? I was like, oh, yeah, it's fine. But, like, don't you think there's just a lot of things to look at? And then your mind wanders.
yep. And then you're like, wait, did I go through a green light or was it red?
Yeah. I'm at that age where I don't like driving at night. It's too much of a risk.
Oh my God.
And then there's, like, wet leaves on the road. I'm an old
Hey.
maid.
I worry about wet leaves a lot, let me tell you, mostly because my car sucks, but
Mm,
I'm like, I'm
yeah.
gonna slip and die driving like an old
Seriously.
lady.
Even just walking, like we're really lucky on our street. There was not like trees like on the street side. They're only in people's backyards, really, so we don't really have leaves on the sidewalk. But when I walk around the city, there's wet leaves. I almost slipped on my bum while I was walking the dog, and so I might
My
have to
God.
add that to the neighborly things that I do this month.
Wet leaf patrol.
Just like Like, I feel like a rake is not efficient on a sidewalk. I might have,
Yeah.
I don't know what to use. Maybe like a bristled mop. And I'm just gonna like mop them out of the walking area. But you're not supposed to put them in the street. Like, I don't want to put them in a bag. I don't want to like put them in the paper bag. I mean, is that rude? Because like you're supposed to take those in Pennsylvania, at least. You have to take them to a drop-off center. Like, you can't put them on the sidewalk for the trash guy.
Oh, I'm learning things.
I'm pretty sure South Plainfield has the drop-off center for them for the leaves.
I think they do, but they pick up, I think, every so often. Or they announce when they're going to pick up.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah,
But it's also, I bet you that's like a paid service too, right?
probably.
There's so many things that like I didn't know growing up, and then now my parents and I talk about these things, or like they just come up because like we don't pay for trash service where we live. Like the city just like everybody gets their trash picked up, whereas like where my parents live in South Plainfield, they pay for their trash to get picked up.
Yep. So when I had my apartment across town, I was like, we are not paying for another thing with this apartment. So I would literally bring my trash to a family member's house or my parents just so that I wouldn't have to pay for that service.
Why didn't you just take it to the dump?
I probably could have, but we never did. I was like, if I'm going there, I'm just gonna take it with me. We were cheap. I was definitely being cheap. I was like, this is absurd.
I think this is a good segue into asking you if you interact with your neighbors. Because, like, at that time, so this was like a little over 2 years ago that you were in this apartment, right?
Yeah, well, I moved back home in March.
Mm-hmm.
And
Was that right before the pandemic hit or after it hit?
literally like the right before, I guess the beginning of March,
Okay.
which is, yeah, I guess that's when it hit.
Yeah.
For no reason, we just ended our lease and I didn't have another place to go to. So, but we were in that apartment for 2 years, and the house we were in, we didn't really have any direct neighbors because we were kind of near the baseball fields, and our next door neighbor was maybe, I mean, it's suburban, so they were spaced away pretty decently.
Yeah, you got lucky.
I did. We had a good setup there.
Mm-hmm.
I had an upstairs. There was an upstairs tenant, who we sometimes spoke to. I kind of avoided her because of political reasons, political opposition. I guess you could say.
How did you find that out?
She brought it up once to my sister.
Like straight up, like,
Yeah.
this is where I stand.
Or just started talking. I don't know. I mean, she was nice enough, but we made small talk in the driveway sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I was like, okay, bye. That's how I interact with my neighbors. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Hi, bye. No, I feel like that's a lot of people. though.
Yeah.
Even in my, at home, I don't interact with my direct neighbors, even though.
That's so interesting to me because, like, you grew up in that house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then you lived there for a while, and then you went to the apartment, and now you've been there again since March.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, your neighbors are still the same as when you were first born there? Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, they're the one to the right of us is elderly, so are the ones across from us. The ones to the left of us, I feel like they're the ones I would probably interact with if I had to choose. I always
if all three of those houses were on fire, but yours was not, you would go save the house on the left.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
The one to the right always complained about our dog pooping on their lawn growing up. I'm not always convinced it was her, but I was like, okay, Barbara, that's her name.
Oh, that is really her name.
I ran into her at CVS the other day.
Oh, did you say anything?
We both had masks on and she recognized me. I was like, damn it.
Well, it's probably your hair.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's a pretty good identifier.
For our listeners, Jerry has fluffy blonde hair and it's gorgeous.
Oh, thank you, darling.
You're
I'm enjoying it while I
welcome.
still have it.
Well, yeah, you gotta.
Yeah.
Right. That's why
But
Tom grew his hair out long, because he was like, this hair's not gonna last forever.
it's not. He doesn't have good
I
genes.
don't know. I mean, he started getting grays when he was 20, and it's just
Oh
taking up
wow.
more and more of his hair. But I think he'll rock like a Dave Grohl look. Like Dave Grohl's like 50 something and he still has long hair, so
I can dig
we'll
it. I can
see.
see that for Tom,
Yeah.
for sure. Do you interact with your neighbors?
So it's funny. I've been in this house for like 5 years. Tom's been in it for, we're going on 4. And shortly after he moved in was when we got a block captain, or at least like the block captain made himself known to everybody. Like he dropped a letter in everybody's mail saying, introducing himself. And then we had our first block cleanup. So this is a thing in Philadelphia. You have what's called
Oh,
block captains. And I'm actually going to get Mike on the podcast to talk about it. And the main thing that they do is they'll do block cleanups. Um, and so Tom is very sociable. I am only now becoming sociable. I don't really understand like what
that
exactly has changed.
surprises me
But see,
because
the
I
thing
don't
is,
think
like,
of you as an
we've known each
introvert.
other since high school. And, like,
Yeah,
we've admitted that we are cliquey.
yeah.
Like, we're very, like, oh, I haven't known you for the last 12 years, so I don't know. So he's been a huge trouble with, like, getting me out of my shell, but, like, he knows everybody on the block more than I do, whereas very much, especially, like, since the pandemic hit, which is, like, ironic, but, like, I am trying more. So I actually saw a couple of our neighbors back in like June, I want to say. They were outside as I was leaving the house to go for a walk. And we all had our masks on and we were just like catching up on all the hot tea, which they knew like everything. And that was like the thing that attracted me to the block cleanups was I was like, I just want to know everything that's happening. And I guess that's like my motivation these days for being neighborly is like I just love knowing what's going on.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's healthy. You want to know what's who your neighbors are and what they're
It's
doing.
entertaining and like idle hands can
Yeah.
sometimes be dangerous. Like if you get bored, you're either just like not contributing or maybe like you're not doing good things.
I like
But
this. We should bring this to Jersey. I wouldn't mind
yeah,
a
I
block
mean,
captain.
you might want to do like a Google search because maybe you have like
Maybe we do have it, and I'm just out
yeah,
of
like
it.
maybe not necessarily as per the block.
Yeah.
The only thing is, so like, it's funny, like that I feel like is the only thing that happens in our area is just like the block cleanups, which is fine. Like they're very good for morale. We actually have our street, not our street, but like the streets, 2 streets surrounding us. We're a one-way street. We're not a main street. So one-way streets are more likely to have block captains and like they're
Yeah.
more likely to be active. But yeah, the 2 neighboring streets are actually having a block cleanup Saturday, and I hope it happens. But they do have a rain date because it actually is supposed to rain on Saturday. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
go because I just like cleaning up. I'm like, if we can do it, like, let's just fucking do it. Like, why are we waiting for somebody else? It's so ridiculous. So yeah, I'm hoping to meet some new people. Um, but yeah, I
You
know
will.
my block captain. We like, I know my neighbors like in the setting. Like if we're on the street and this is gonna sound so dumb. I'm like, if they come out of their house, like I know that, but like, that's just so dumb. But I'd say there's probably like 5 people on my block who I would recognize off of our block, and I think that's good
I'd say that's
considering.
good.
Yeah, because especially in the like during the pandemic, we've actually had a handful of people move out and we've had some people move in. And we haven't done block cleanups. So we haven't had the opportunity to meet new people unless like you somehow make that effort individually, which I can't really find that opportunity.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's been
I think it's
interesting.
great. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you who my neighbor 2 houses down is.
Wow. And you grew up there.
I know. I'm never here
Jerry.
though. Like I feel like I just sleep here.
Right. Maybe
So
you should put up
that's
some
not an
flyers
excuse
for a block cleanup and see what
for the
happens.
5 houses on my street.
You've got a handful of houses because you're on like a loop,
Yeah, a horseshoe.
a horseshoe. Well, so what about like community wise? Like, as far as like South Plainfield as a whole, do you think you interact with your community? Because I know, like you said, you do work a lot.
Besides, besides our friends.
Ye-
Actually, do we have any that live here? It's just me now.
Would you
um,
say like you give back to the community these days?
I wouldn't say this one. I would say I've definitely done a few things through work, which is great,
Yeah.
and I love. Earlier this year, actually right before the pandemic and the in lockdown, I had the opportunity to partner with a company called Live Out Loud through Avalon, where we went to the city. We invited LGBTQ youth to come and see LGBTQ adults in the workplace, and we got to speak to them. So that was really cool. Um, they probably got more from the other speakers than they did for me. I feel like I was there for comedy relief.
Oh, that's nice.
But they laughed, so that's good.
Yeah. I think that's really awesome that you had that opportunity through work. And I feel like it kind of makes your workplace more attractive.
It does. We have a good reputation, I have to say. I do enjoy where I work. I'm a little sad that we're not doing as many of those kinds of events at this moment because of, Miss Rona, but
Ah!
but yeah, no, that's probably God, does that make me sound like a horrible person? I don't want to
No.
give back to South Plainfield.
No, it doesn't make you a horrible person. I think that sometimes, though, people don't realize how they give back. I
Yeah,
think sometimes people are being neighborly and don't realize it because it's either natural to them in the sense of like it's a reflex, or it's
yeah.
just like being a good person just comes naturally. And like to
I'm a
me, I
nice
think,
guy.
yeah, I mean, I really do think just like acknowledging people that you pass on the street is neighborly. Like, I think
Yeah.
it's important. Some people just want somebody to acknowledge them. So,
Aw, that's
I think a
deep.
lot of people just want somebody to listen to them, which is always like the key to like customer service. And I'm
Yes.
just not that person to like listen because I'm just like, I don't know. I guess I was just in retail way too young and I
Yeah.
didn't
Oh, it's so
know.
funny how retail destroys that for you.
Yes.
After, I mean, me too. Like after doing that for so long, I was like, all right, what do I want my next career to be? One where I have to
Yeah.
talk to less people.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's why I love walking dogs. Like, I don't usually have to talk to people. Like, every once in a while, their pet parent is home, or like we'll come across people on our walk who want to like pet the puppy. I had a really shitty experience with a guy today when I was walking my girl Shelby, and like she's a big dog. She's like probably Angel's size. And she's 2 years old, but she's full grown, and so like you wouldn't know how old she is, and she has a lot of energy because she just wants to like say hi to everybody.
Hmm.
Um, and I know that, and she only has a collar. Like, we tried the harness and she hated it, which, like, it shouldn't be her choice, but I'm like, I don't mind. I'll figure it out. And we just chose a different walking path that doesn't really have, we don't really come across people. And on the rare occasion that we do, we make the decision to cross the street, which is very, like, that's just being humane as, like, somebody walking an animal. But, we're learning sitting at the crosswalks, and she's doing great. Like, I have to give her a little pat on the back and then she'll do it. I can't just say
Aw.
sit and she'll do it. Like, she needs me to pat her on the back right now. It's only like day 3. So we were sat at the crosswalk waiting for the light to turn green so we could go. And I saw this guy like coming towards us, like when she first sat down, and I was like, oh God, like I hope he's not nervous around her. And so I audibly said, like, oh, good girl, Shelby, you're being so good today. And then the light turned and it was our turn to cross. And somehow this guy like came from behind me and starts walking next to us. And so Shelby was like taken off guard too, and immediately she wants to know like who this person is. And she wasn't being aggressive, but she was like sniffing at him, and so I was trying to like hold her. And I always say to her when we're around people, I was like, give people their space. Like, I say it really sweet. And this guy didn't even have the nerve to like look me in the eye, but he just like over his shoulder, he was like, whoa, 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 I get to go first because you have a dog. And I was
Is that a
like,
rule?
I have no idea. And I was so like gobsmacked. I was like, what is. So I asked him, I was like, what did you say? And he was like, you have to let me go first because you have a dog. And I just don't know. And I'm like, this is the reason that I don't want to have a career where I have to interact with people that I don't want to interact with. Like, I mean, I'm really fortunate that I have that option right now.
It's weird how, I don't know. I feel like age turns you into like I'm definitely identify myself as an extrovert.
Right.
Primarily. I took that thing you can take, and it's like I got like 65 extrovert, 35.
Your like personality test.
Yeah,
your
introvert.
Social. Yeah.
And even, but after working in retail, it's like, oh my God, the less people, especially in the workplace, the less people I have to deal with, the better.
Yeah.
It's like, why? It's because, unfortunately, not all people are pleasant.
And it's not just customers, like.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I did my
patience.
share of retail, and then I went to like live TV production, and I was like, oh, cool. Well, then again, like I guess we did have like quote unquote customers because we would have vendors that would come in. But like when you work with the same people over and over and over every single day, you get this closeness that makes you like, you stop being polite, which is not
Yeah.
cute on anybody. Like, just be polite. Like, we're all going through the same thing. Don't think like you're the only one having a hard time, but you being a mopey pants about it isn't making it any easier on yourself or anybody.
Yeah.
So I just made the choice. I was like, I'm done. Like, I am gonna like I'm gonna put myself first, and I'm gonna take a leap. We're really fortunate. Like, Tom has a very steady job and a very steady income. And he was super supportive of like, if that's not what you want to do anymore, then don't do it. But I had also like done dog walking previously, and then it kind of like fell to the wayside when I went full time at the studio. And so I was like lucky to have that to fall back on, and now I'm into it like full force. Cause I'm like, I freaking love dogs. Like, they're so sweet. They love you unconditionally. Like, they want to protect you. We've gotten, like, Shelby and I have gotten into scuffles because people will, like, sneak up on us because they'll come, like, from around a corner and whatever. And, yeah, she'll get aggressive in that point because she was like, whoa, I don't know who this person is, and, like, I gotta protect her. And I'm like, Shelby, we're fine. Like, we're fine.
Everybody's fine.
Yes, everybody's fine.
It's like my new phrase.
Yes.
Everybody's fine.
We're fine. We're fine.
When I mess up at work, or when people are getting sassy.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, we're rarely in life ending scenarios. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when I worked at Starbucks, and I still have like dreams about like, I'm back at Starbucks, and it's not the worst place to work, but
You dream about that?
not in like, oh, I hope I'll do it. Like, no, like when I'm sleeping. Literally last
yeah.
night, I had a dream that I was a barista again. And I'm like, oh my God, why? Why is this happening? And my first boss for Starbucks was the sweetest woman. She was only like a year or two older than me, and she was in it. Like, that's always been the really interesting part too, is a lot of the people that I've worked for have only been a couple years older than me, which is like always kind of questionable.
Yeah.
And then I guess also people who are like in their 50s and 60s, it's also questionable. I'm like, was this what you dreamed about? Like, is this what you wanted your whole life? But anyway, my first Starbucks manager, she was like, don't get overwhelmed with anything because it's just coffee. Like, at the end of the day, it's just coffee. But also,
is it though?
on the
It's
flip side,
magical
like,
juice.
right, right. And so, like, on the flip side, it's like you can really make somebody's day just with a cup of coffee. Like,
You know, it's important. It's the most important meal of the day.
it is. It's just like the little things matter.
I am a horrible person before coffee.
Yeah, don't talk to me before I've had my coffee. But I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of jobs you can only do for so long before you just like can't show up with a happy face anymore. I mean, there are some people who are like, one of the guys at the studio, he was there from like the inception, and he was still the sweetest, nicest guy. There was two of them, and they had like one of the first like 20 ID numbers, and they were just the sweetest guys. Like, they were clearly like in their 50s, maybe 60s.
How do they do that? Like, how?
Because, and I wonder, so I guess my question is like, have you always been that way, or in the last like so many years where you were like, fuck it, like, this is where I am. There's no point in being frustrated about it. We've done this show 100 times. Nobody's gonna die.
Right.
They were always the most calming people. Like, I felt ridiculous when I would get flustered about something, because I'm like, but look at these guys. Like, they don't have a care in the world. They get their job done. And then you know even more, like, when they get upset, you're like, oh my God, this must be serious because they're upset. Like, what?
I have a boss like that. He's very chill. So when he says something off color, I'm like, ooh.
Oh, you're excited.
Yes,
you
I'm
want
excited.
to
Oh,
show.
sorry, this is a podcast. Yeah,
Right.
I guess you can't see
He's clapping
me.
his hands.
Yeah.
This has been so much fun. Are you having a good time?
I am.
Should we do this again sometime?
Yeah, we could do this again for sure.
The puppies are getting anxious, so I think it's time to wrap it up. Do you
Yeah,
have
I have to head
anything
to the
else
gym.
you want to comment on before we do that?
No, I miss you.
I miss you too.
Let's get rid of this pandemic, everybody.
Serious. Well, but see, Jerry, like, then you got to get away from the bar. I mean,
I know.
Because
Well,
we can't.
now
But
I
so
am.
there's the flip coin, right? Like, if the pandemic's over, you can't be our correspondent for which bars are open during the pandemic. But we can have you be our bar correspondent like after the pandemic too.
I'm here live for on Margarita Mondays in Morristown to let you know what the crowds look like.
Yes. Oh my God, I love it. I'm so happy with this. Well, citizens, thank you so much for joining me and my hometown friend, Jerry, all the way from South Plainfield, New Jersey. Please share what you think it means to be a neighbor in your area. If you were born before like 1989, you can email me, thisjes@gmail.com. If you're not legal to drink yet, or if you're not in your 30s. Oh, here's one. How about if you don't have to pay for your own health care? You can DM me on the Instagram. Meaning like you're like 26 and under. Not like my boo's got the health care. I don't pay for it, so I'm going to DM. I mean, do whatever you want. It's a free country.
Just DM her, people.
Nobody has sent me anything yet. I'm always checking my junk mail. I'm like, maybe it just went to the wrong folder. Come on, guys. I'm a fun person. And I just want to I want to talk about what people want to listen to. So I'm really glad that we just did our first casual episode. This has been your friend Jess. Jerry, thank you so much for joining me.
Anytime.
I love
Joe,
that.
Josie, Jess,
Yes.
or sorry, Jess. You all know her as Jess. Be well, everyone. Take care of yourselves.
Well.
Mentally, physically, emotionally, sexually.
Yes.
I mean,
people are being creative in these times.
We sure are.
In many facets.
Oh,
I think
boy.
that's a great note to end it on. I'll see you around the neighborhood.
Bye.
Bye.